What's up, everybody? Let me just make sure I have the right microphone. It looks like I got the right microphone. Let me just double check here because last week I noticed that. Yep, we are good to go. Last week I made a little bit of a boo boo and used the wrong mic. Oh well, such is life of a live streamer, podcaster, and all that good stuff. Now, you guys have must have known that I am doing a little bit of changes in my life and a lot of changes in everything. Let me just remove all distractions. There we go. All right, phone's on airplane mode. We're ready to rock and roll. Life of a live caster and podcaster is can be sometimes a little crazy, and you have a tendency of for forgetting things and not doing stuff that you're supposed to, and you get distracted by shiny things all the time. So what can you do? This is just life. um Anyways, this week I want to talk to all of you about a very um something that has come across me over the last, and something that has been consuming me over the past, it's a year and a half. That is, how do I streamline my podcast, especially my podcast production stuff? Because if you've been doing podcasting or live streaming for any number of years, you'll know that when you start to do this, there's a lot of work that is involved outside of just hitting the record and posting it on social media. There's a lot more that goes on. Um, I'll give you an example. When I finish my recording with my guest, there's another 50 steps that go into scheduling it on YouTube or scheduling it on Podbean. There's another, well, I wouldn't say 50, there's about 25 to 30 steps that go into it. And I wouldn't know these steps. I'd know them up here, but it does me no good having it up here. So there are systems in place that I need, and I need to do a better job fixing this camera. Oh well, what can you do? So I need a specific way of structuring my podcast post production. There's the production phase, which is it's about 11 steps from before I hit the record button to after I've hit the end button. There's 11 steps that go in between. And having a conversation with my guest is only one step. And that's somewhere in the middle, just a little bit lost in the middle. So there are other things that I have to do outside of just hitting the record button. But anyways, what I want to talk to you guys about today are 4 things that will help you save time and hopefully give you a life outside of podcasting. One of the things that we're going to create, one of the things that we're going to talk about is creating systems, an SOP, standard operating procedure. And this is, if you do not have this, you're going to be looking at the forest and you're going to be looking at the wood and not the forest. Forget about the trees. You won't see the trees in the forest. You're just going to see the wood, and it's going to be a tough thing to see. So creating a system, having a system in play for your podcast, pre-production, production, and post-production and promotion is critical. You need to know exactly what is going on. Where is this episode in the life cycle of my of the grand scheme of things? We got to grab some water. I'll give you an example. I just finished recording yesterday. I finished recording an episode with somebody, and right now it's in the very beginning phases of the post-production. I'm using a tool called Trello to help me see where this stuff comes. And I'll explain to you why this is so important and why you need an SOP, a standard operating procedure, and you need to follow this procedure. This is your procedure. I cannot write it for you. I can give you a guideline. And in the Community Podcaster Wellness Alliance, I actually give you that guideline, and you can use that guideline to create your own SOP. Now, my guideline is about 74 steps, and it looks like it's going to be growing because I haven't even looked at or even attempted to get into the post-production part. Like when I open up Adobe Pro, there's a lot of work that goes on in Adobe Pro. A lot of work. Scheduling stuff out to go to my audio guy to clean up the audio. When I get it back, putting it back, making sure that the lips make sure that the lips are going in sync with the video, with the audio. So it's not, you don't see the lips moving and then you hear the audio come in. That's not what you want, especially with video. With audio, it's fine. I mean, you don't really need to worry about that, but the video is pretty important that you get that right. So there's steps that you need to go and put into play. When do your advertisements come in during your podcast? When do the like and subscribe buttons come up? There's specific time frames that I follow. You guys can do whatever you like with it, and that's fine. So having an SOP, a standard operating procedure, and a system in place will save you tons of time, because today I'm doing this, and we're going to get into batching in just a little bit. But today I'm doing this. This is how I'm doing it. These are the steps I need to follow. Bang, you're done. No issues. And you can save a ton of time. Not trying to have to remember, how do I do this and how do I do that? It's already written for you. And the best part about having an SOP is if you're looking at it, and you can look at it on a weekly basis. I look at it on a daily basis, and I'm like, how can I improve this to save more time? I don't want to be spending 2 hours on an hour episode editing. I don't want to do that. I want to spend 3 hours max and have that episode scheduled for the next year with promotions and everything done. All the copies done. 3 hours. That's where I want to be at. Right now, I'll be honest with you all, I'm at about 10 hours out of the week. I want to get down to 3 hours a week. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm looking at my SOP right now. Well, I was looking at my SOP this weekend. I mean, even on my holidays, I'm working, and I want to stop doing that. I want to have a life outside my podcast. It's critical. And the only way for me to do this is to have an SOP, a standard operating procedure, have systems in place. And I don't have to worry about, I have to be on Facebook right now, and I have to do this promo for this episode. I want it all scheduled out, so I don't have to worry about that episode. Once I'm done recording, I spend 3 hours after, and everything is done and dusted. That's what my goal is. The only way that you can do that is through batch recording. I've spoken about this, excuse me. I've spoken about this before. And batching your time, batching your days, batching your tasks is probably the most time efficient strategy that you can utilize. This time 2 years ago, I was doing one episode per day. I was recording one episode per day. I was editing one episode per day. I was scheduling one episode per day. I was doing copywriting for one episode per day. I was wasting so much time and so much energy and so much headache that I burnt out. I burnt out in a week. It was too much. I came across the idea of batching. Well, to be fair, I came across the idea of batching when I first learned about podcasting. And that was through London Real and Brian Rose through London Real. And he was talking about you need to batch, have your days scheduled out. I didn't realize it because I'll be honest with you, when you first start getting into podcasting, you're like, oh, this is great. This is awesome. I can do it all. I can do it all. Reality is you might think you'd be able to do it all, but you will burn out. You will burn out quickly. And so I gave it no mind when Brian was talking about batching your week, batching the days, and having a theme for the day. So I completely forgot about it. And it wasn't until about, I'd say, maybe 2.5 years into podcasting, and I realized with myself that I would be doing a little bit. I go on to a little spurt and then stop, a little spurt and a little stop. And when I mean spurt, I mean like recording, editing, publishing. And I'm like, hey, something's not right here. And I can't remember who I came across. They were talking about batching the days, batching and theming out your weeks, theming out the days of the week, and batch recording, batch editing. Oh, it was I was reading John Lee Dumas's book. I had it somewhere. It was John Lee Dumas's book, and he was talking about it. I'm like, oh, wait a second, I remember this. I was taught this at London Real. I completely forgot about it. So I started batching and theming out my weeks, and I've been able to I wouldn't say consistently, but I do have content scheduled out for the next at least 6 weeks. And I have to pay no mind to any of it. Everything is done. And this is the good thing. Like, I'm doing things for 6 weeks into the future, which is another thing that Brian talked about, which I didn't pay a lot of attention. I just wanted to learn how to do the podcast and then publish the podcast. But I was doing everything at the same time. When I launched my podcast almost 4 years ago, I launched with close to 25 episodes and working a full-time job. But I was going nuts. I burnt out quickly. I burnt out super quickly. I wasn't doing any of the podcasting growth part to it, which was blog posts, social media campaigns, word of mouth. Well, the word of mouth was easy. You didn't really have to put too much into it. Just go out and talk about your podcast. I wasn't doing any of that. I didn't have time for it. All I was doing, I was working full time, and I had the podcast as well. And I launched with 25 episodes in 6 weeks, in 6 weeks' time. I burnt out quickly. Now, why is all this important? Because when you start to grow and your podcast grows to the point where you actually can start making some money, you can offload some of these tasks that you don't have to do. And remember in the beginning where I talked about creating the system, creating an SOP, having a standard operating procedure in place. When you outsource these tasks, you can say, here's the procedures that you need to follow. Follow these procedures to whoever you outsource these tasks to. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to do this in the first year or even the second year. Your podcast will not be that big unless you've done stuff from before and you have like a huge audience and already. You need to grow the audience, and then when you start to grow the audience and you start making some money, that's when you can outsource these tasks and you can have this system in place where your quote unquote either employees or your contractors will be able to follow to save their time and not be able and not go out of their mind saying, what do you want me to do with this episode? Well, just follow the standard operating procedures. This is what has worked for me in the past. This is the way that I like to do things. This is the way that my company runs things. No company out there has hires on an employee and says, "Oh, just do whatever you want." They give you a standard operating procedure of how the companies run, and you, but as an employee or a contractor, have to abide by it. It's just part of the game. You just need to do it. So that's why having an SOP in place is easier for you for onboarding because it saves you time as well. And the final thing that I want to talk about today is probably one of my favorite things that I've been deep diving very, very recently. And I've been able to push out a ton of content off of automation tools and AI. AI for me is a double-edged sword. And I'll explain to you why. AI is it's great because I can create 6 blog posts in 40 minutes, where before 6 blog posts would take me 6 hours. It'll take me 40 minutes, and all I have to do is copy, paste, edit it a little bit, read through it and edit it a little bit, give it a little bit of my flavor, and go into medium.com or Substack and just publish it and schedule it out in the future. And I don't have to worry about that content forever. It's like it's scheduled. It's gonna be released whenever it does, whenever it's scheduled. I don't have to worry about it. I mean, even Facebook is great because it has a scheduling tool. But if anybody on Facebook is watching this, and I don't know if you guys are going to ever watch this, but it would be beneficial for content creators to be able to schedule it out on their own personal pages. You can only do it on your business page, which is good. And I know the personal page is about personal stuff too, but it would help to have it on the personal where you can actually schedule stuff out into the future. It'll help the podcasters. It'll help content creators. It'll help the live streamers. It'll help us a little bit more. If you're ever watching this, just a tip. I know LinkedIn is there are tools out there that you can utilize, like Hero Post. I've talked about Hero Post before. Hootsuite, where you can actually do it, but it doesn't allow on personal pages. Personal pages on Facebook, you have to do on, on the day. But I'm digressing. Like AI tools, like I said, it's such a huge time saver. Now, that's the good part of AI. The thing that I've noticed with AI, where the bad thing is, and I'm not saying that it's going to take over humanity and that, this and that, and Skynet and this and that. Could it? Potentially, yeah. I mean, sure. Why not? I'm a nerd like that. Yeah, okay. I love my good sci-fi. Why not? Where I find the biggest problem with AI as a content creator is that content creators, podcasters, live streamers, were very creative individuals. And we like to be creative. We like to have our flair. My biggest problem is we might come into this lazy state where if Chat GPT goes down, what do? How do we create 6 pieces of content in 40 minutes? I'm used to having scheduled out 1 year of content and have it done within an hour, because I have all these other tasks I have to worry about. I have a full-time job that I have to worry about. I have people to schedule. I have meetings to go to with my contractors. I have this, I have that, I have this, I have that. I don't have time right anymore. I don't have time anymore to waste 6 hours of my day to write 6 blog posts. I don't have time anymore to spend half a day on creating Facebook posts and scheduling them out, or LinkedIn or Twitter, and Twitter's a monster. If you want to utilize Twitter properly, Twitter is a monster. So if Chat GPT, for example, goes down, I'm stuck. Or I can take $4,000 and drop it onto a copywriter, which I don't want to do, because I can take that $4,000 and just dump it into my podcast and make it better for you viewers. So you see the double-edged sword. Like it kind of, we kind of become handcuffed to AI, and that's the problem I have with AI. Do I utilize AI? Yes, I do. There's a lot that I do with AI. I create Facebook posts. I create LinkedIn articles. I create blog posts. I created the talking points for this live stream through AI. You can create a title, and they give you really good titles. And a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, well, John, it's cheating." No, it's not cheating. It's an effective use of my time. That's all it is. It's an effective use of my time. And other people will say, on another argument, people will say, "Oh, that's not your content." Well, yes, it is. Find me one piece of content that is completely and utterly 100% original from 2020 till today. Everything has been used by somebody else. It has all been repurposed in a different way in their perspective. And AI is no different. It's no different. I can train ChatGPT to speak in my voice, and you'll be like, "Yeah, well, that's John speaking." No, it's ChatGPT speaking. But I've trained ChatGPT over the course of a couple of months to push out content the way that I want to push out content. So is it original? No, it's not original. Nothing is original. Nothing is original. No book in the history of books, not even no book is original. And you're gonna say to me, "Oh well, Shakespeare was original." No, he wasn't. Shakespeare ripped off a lot of Greek and Roman stories. He did. Romeo and Juliet was a ripoff of um, Helen of Troy. It was a pure ripoff of Helen of Troy and Paris. So nothing is original. Everything is a ripoff of something. And the Bible has been ripped off many, many, many times. And is it a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing because everybody's giving their own perspective. I'm not saying that people who take the Bible and give their own perspective is good. I'm just saying I'm just saying that it's we shouldn't look at AI like that. We should only look at AI as a tool that we can utilize to help automate systems that we have created and make it better for us. But we have to be able to have our flair to it, our voice to it. Because when we rely too much on AI, what happens if it goes down? And it's a machine. It's a machine. It will break. If anybody here thinks that a machine doesn't break, I mean, you got another thing coming. I mean, I've worked in IT for almost 8 years now. There is not a single machine that will last time. Not one. They all break. So that's that. If you guys want more content, if you guys want to see how I utilize all of these, I'm going to go into it tomorrow into more detail. But it will be in the Podcasters Wellness Alliance on Mighty Networks. Shoot me a message. Let me know that you're interested. First month is on me, so you guys can get a little bit more, a good feel about what we do in there, because it's not just about podcasting. It's about focusing on your health and wellness as well, because we got into podcasting to do two things. One of those things was to share our voice, and the second thing was to free up our time. And the problem with podcasting and live streaming is that, yeah, okay, you share your voice, but your time gets sucked into a black hole. And where we give you health and wellness tips and tricks to balance that all out. So shoot me out a message, and let's get you started with the Podcasters Wellness Alliance on Mighty Networks. So I'll see you guys next week, where we talk about, what do we talk about? More streamlining. How to manage your production. This is going to be huge. How to manage production. How I re-listen to my episode once, and I do all my editing once, and I'll show you guys how I do it, just so you guys can have a good understanding of what goes on and how I was doing it before. And yeah, it'll be a fun time. Anyways, you guys have an awesome week. I will see you in tomorrow, where we go live in the community. And till then, you guys have an awesome day.